Hey everyone, welcome to today's Meet Cumulo webinar. I'm Mike Guentner, Territory Account Manager here at Qumulo. I'm joined by Tony Raleigh, my systems engineer and partner in crime. We're here to introduce you to Qumulo and our technology and show you a live demo. But before we dive into it, let's set the stage really quick. So Qumulo makes it really easy for our customers to store, protect, manage, and build next-gen applications with unstructured data. So you might be wondering, why are we so focused on unstructured data? So let's think about it for just a second. The way that us human beings process and take in the world around us, most of that information that our brains are actually able to process comes from either images or sounds. As a matter of fact, our brains have evolved over time to devote more real estate for processing images and sounds than any of our other senses. In the digital world, images and sounds are categorized as, you guessed it, unstructured data. It's a lot easier to stimulate a human being with unstructured data because it's pretty much effortless for us to process it. Unstructured data can also elicit some really strong emotional responses because visual memories are encoded in the exact same part of the brain where we process our emotions. So today's innovators, they're well aware of this, and they're using unstructured data to create new and more effective products, services, and insights. This is the definition of digital transformation, and unstructured data is the driving force. There's a tiny problem though. Managing unstructured data can be really painful, especially at scale. Many legacy storage systems, they're built on proprietary hardware or operating systems, and that leaves customers feeling locked in. And frankly, it locks them out from adopting new leading edge technologies. As data grows, legacy systems become too complex and expensive to maintain. And of the few systems that can actually scale to meet modern requirements, most of them just can't provide real-time data insights that help streamline data, storage, and user management. It's also worth noting, many of these legacy systems, they just can't offer the multi-dimensional performance that's needed to power the apps that are extracting the data's value. And when there is an issue, most customers just dread having to call their vendor for support because it's never a very delightful experience. And finally, it's no secret, we're living in a hybrid cloud world, but most legacy storage systems often hold customers back from taking advantage of some of those game-changing cloud-native services. By the way, we saw this writing on the wall years ago. If you see my virtual background here, sorry, wrong corner. We're actually celebrating 10 years here at Qumulo. Before we started, before we wrote any code, we conducted nearly 1,000 research interviews with storage and data management experts around the world. Their feedback helped us shape the company and the technology we're going to show you today. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Qumulo, the file data platform for the world's unstructured data. Qumulo's platform does not rely on any proprietary hardware or any specific operating systems. That gives you the freedom and flexibility to choose how and where you deploy it. Private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, edge sites, you can deploy Qumulo anywhere with the exact same product and the exact same data services all built in. Qumulo allows customers to scale to tens of billions of files, exabytes of capacity, millions of IOPs, and thousands of users all in a single namespace without disruption and without having to add more human resources to manage storage as you grow your data. Qumulo natively provides real-time data insights for capacity, performance, and client activity to solve some of those data blindness challenges and ultimately save you time and money. Our software was designed to deliver low latency, IOPs, and throughput needed for the most demanding and data-intensive workloads. Not only do we make really awesome tech that our customers love using, but we support our customers better than any other technology company in the world. All of our customers enjoy our unique modern customer success model. We leverage dedicated customer success managers, cloud-based monitoring, and modern communication tools like Slack to reduce time to resolution and frankly, just help our customers get the most out of their Qumulo experience. And finally, Qumulo is a cloud-native solution that allows you to easily burst workloads to cloud compute instances, enable cloud-based DR, or completely lift and shift any and all of your file-based apps and data without refactoring apps or re-architecting your workflows. Now, obviously, we think we've built the world's best data platform and customer support organization, but guess what? The market agrees with us. We've won a ton of industry awards. We've been a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader since 2018, and our NPS score has consistently been in the high 80s or low 90s, which is pretty much unprecedented for this industry. So here's the major benefit that we provide our customers. Qumulo delivers one consistent file data platform for all unstructured data. And our software includes a comprehensive suite of data services that supports the full data lifecycle. Cumulo Core is the name of our software. It allows you to ingest and consolidate every type and any number of files into a single namespace. Multiple concurrent users can read, write, and transform that data across multiple protocols and applications. You can share and publish that data across regions and operating systems. And Qumulo can help archive and preserve that data forever or as long as your organization requires. Qumulo Core is licensed based on capacity, and it includes every single data service and feature Qumulo offers, including future features that are released during the life of your subscription. By the way, if you want to upgrade to take advantage of a new version of Qumulo's code, it's a non-disruptive process. In terms of deployment options, Qumulo Core software can be deployed in any of the 3 major public clouds or on-prem in a private cloud with a wide range of server options from our hardware compatibility list. And everything is supported by the best customer success program in the world. We call that organization Qumulo Care. So Qumulo is made up of 7 unique data services. Again, all of these data services are included in the Qumulo Core subscription. Customers told us they hate the complexity that comes with the a la carte feature licensing model, so we decided to make it simple and just include everything in one subscription. So let's start with Cumulo Scale. Our software automatically and non-disruptively rebalances data when nodes or instances are added. That provides limitless file system capacity and linear performance gains as you grow. Qumulo Perform allows you to leverage the capabilities of modern flash technology in either an all-flash or hybrid flash footprint. Hybrid flash deployments benefit from one of Qumulo's core patents, our machine learning-based predictive caching algorithms. Those algorithms automatically place blocks of files on the appropriate media in real time based on your usage patterns. And that's how we deliver cost-effective performance. Qumulo Aware, this provides built-in real-time data insights for capacity, performance, and client activity. It just makes it really, really easy to manage your Qumulo platform. And by the way, Tony's going to demo some of this in a second, so I don't want to steal too much of his thunder. Qumulo Shift is a unique cloud data service that allows you to seamlessly copy data to Amazon S3 to lifecycle archive data, collaborate on it globally, or connect it with AWS native services. Qumulo Integrate allows you to create, manage, and tear down services and programmatically retrieve information with simple REST API calls. Every single capability within Qumulo has an API endpoint, and there's a wide range of commands you can customize and automate. Qumulo Protect is all the table stake, data protection, and DR services you'd expect from enterprise storage. So that includes erasure coding, snapshots, and replication. And last but not least, Qumulo Secure. This encompasses pretty much all of Qumulo's built-in security features like our always-on software-based encryption at rest, protocol-based encryption in flight, native auditing services, and role-based control. All right, Tony, that's enough for me. Why don't you go ahead and take control and we'll start our live demo.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm Tony Raleigh. I'm a systems engineer here at Qumulo. What you can do is our follow-up for this webinar will be sending you a link to get to our Tech Accelerator instances. And what I'm going to do is go into the catalog and start a cluster. What we're going to do is build a cluster from the ground up. We're going to start with 4 instances, let that finish, and then wait a minute, I'll show you some of our analytics, and then we'll come back and we'll scale that cluster out and we'll add 2 more nodes seamlessly. So we'll go through, we'll launch this lab. It takes about 3 minutes. There is no opportunity. So I'll just pop my name in here. And we'll get that going. What this does is this is our sandbox in AWS. And it's going and it's launching these 4 instances and getting this prepared. Before the webinar, I got access to, this is a live cluster. And it's a live demo. Oh, look at this. So it said launch complete. All right, now we're back. Looks like it reconnected to my virtual instance here. Just a little bit on the controls. Here's the virtual Windows server I'm connected to, and the console. You can see I have my Chrome session, a PowerShell, and then a Windows Explorer. This is our dashboard. We've made it really simple. What we want to do is show you everything that's being used. You can use up to 100% of your available storage. Here we have 319 terabytes available, of which we're using 294. And here's a breakdown of that usage. And these blue indicators here. That is the real-time analytics in action. What happens in the background is every node in the cluster is participating in protecting and serving the files. And then every 5 to 15 seconds, a reconciler comes through, and it doesn't walk the tree. It actually updates its directory aggregates with a distributed key value pair that's running in our virtual space. So we're a virtual file system that runs in user space. We're not tied to any hardware or firmware. That allows us to deploy on a large number of the latest capacity drives and the hardware that's out there. You scroll down, you can see IOPs, throughput, and latency, and this is in real time. So if I had a hotspot or someone called and said, the network is slow or my shares, I'm having trouble accessing it, you could easily get into a very granular view of what's happening in the system. This is the last 24 hours of data, as well as here's like a speedometer of what's happening in the system. This is a demo train. So we have a live cluster or an actual cluster with some virtual workloads going against it. As you can see, we have 14 clients connected. And these are the most active clients, both through throughput and IOPs. Capacity trends. This is the one endpoint we do collect on box for 52 weeks. And that allows you to see the trends in your system as they grow or as it grows. And this is not being scraped from another server. This is actual, each node has its own HTML5 dashboard that it's showing. And this is the real bread and butter of the system, is our real-time analytics. So if I click on here, again, it gives me a live look into the system. I can see I have 12 million files in 123,000 directories. And you can look here, throughput, IOPs, and metadata activity, and you can see that changing in real time as the workflow is progressed. If I clicked on another area, it would immediately update the stats here and show me the active clients and path. Capacity Explorer. This is the part that is really interesting. I wish this was around when I was a storage admin for about a dozen years prior to becoming an SE. And I wish this kind of functionality was around when I was out there in the field, because I can drill down in real time and see all the directories and just keep going until I hit a file. And with Qumulo, these directory aggregates are updated in real time. So if I hover over one of these slices, it shows me all of the statistics about the files. And then I can go right back to the top of the tree. Trending, like I mentioned, this is the one that is available for 52 weeks. And if I look at some of these trends, I can hover over it and it'll show me the change that occurred throughout that day. And if I highlight it or click on it, it will show me the top changes in that particular directory. So when someone says, hey, my path is working really slow, you can easily look at the path in real time and then fan out any of these directory structures to see the host that's connected to it. Or you could also go by client and look and see the IOPs and throughput and then fan that out. And it's like a visual LSOF. It's really effective for troubleshooting, and many use cases apply, if anything. And you can see we have some hosts. These are the web hosts that are connected to. With DNS, you could see the host name on the right side as well. We support all the unstructured data, SMB, NFS, and real-time quotas. The system does not have to be polled. So if I were to change one of these quotas, and it looks like marketing's running out of space, if I wanted to give them a new quota, fair warning, I may not have authority to do this. We'll try it. And it would be updated in real time. It does not have to poll the file system to get to it. I might not have enough juice. Yeah. So we do support role-based activity. So I could go here into my role management. And if I wanted to add that functionality to my system, I could, or I could create a custom role. NFS exports. Can make that out, restrict it by subnet, by IP. SMB shares, if I created a new share, I could actually require encryption in flight. We support SMB 3 and 2. We do not support SMB 1, fun fact. Let's take a look over at our new cluster and see, and this is ready. Looks like my launch is complete. Again, I'll look at the controls. Here's my domain controller. When I go back to the console, I'll be in that console. And here are the 4 nodes that are running. And here are the 2 additional nodes that I'll be adding in just a moment. We go back to the console. This is what you would see whether you're building a cluster on-prem or a virtual cluster in an AWS. Actually, in AWS, we've done a lot of work with a well-architected framework and automation in the creation of the clusters. So we can use CloudFormation or Terraform script to automatically create all the resources and tie them into the cluster. I see there's a question in the chat. I'm going to pop through this demo real quick, and then we're going to save about 10 or 15 minutes at the end, if that's all right with everyone. And Mike, if you can get that going, tee up those questions. So this is our end user license agreement. Once I hit submit, you can see I have my 4 nodes. And this is based by MAC address. But if I wanted to change the order, say I had racked them separately, and this MAC address was now node 1, you can change that. You can make it any name you'd like, and then you create a password. When you are in this, I'm connected to node 2. As you can see, I changed it, and that's what that little diamond is for. These 2 rings, so we'll switch that back to node 1. Oh, it's all messed up now. My OCD is kicking in. Here we go. There, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the story, you can see, you can walk through all of these steps. And if I want to get in the password field, and if I hit this blue button, it will actually populate the field. And then it tells me at the bottom, I'm going to have 80 gigs usable capacity once I hit create cluster. Now, the interesting thing is I've built probably 3 dozen, maybe more clusters in my time here at Qumulo. And when I hit this create cluster button, it doesn't matter if it's a virtual cluster or 16 nodes sitting in a rack. When I hit this, the file system goes out, they're all networked together. It goes out and looks at all the available media and immediately denotes a file system. So it takes it to the extent of the file system and then writes predefined blocks for block stores and protection stores, and it balances them out against themselves so you can survive disk or node failures. So I always say that we protect data first, and then we share data. We're really, really serious about data protection and serving of data. Again, the live demo. And now our cluster is formed. I had to hit the refresh button here. And I can log in as admin. And again, the password is Cumulo1 exclamation. Don't tell anyone. And now I'm into my cluster that has just been formed. If I go to the overview, you can see that my data is encrypted at rest, as well as if I create shares, I can create a share. Oh, let's walk through the story, actually. This is easier. Then it goes and creates an NFS export. And create the directory if it does not exist. Again, I can add or allow, I can make it read-only, I can map users. We do have a nice patented cross-protocol permissions model that allows for the seamless sharing of data to and from Windows and Linux. And you can map using the POSIX attributes in the Active Directory. So you can populate the UID and GID fields in an Active Directory on an LDAP user, and then have the data be accessed seamlessly across protocols. We can go and make it an SMB share. And then file system path, SMB. Again, I can require encryption. We have a pretty specific host restriction, which is really unique to Qumulo. where you can actually specify a specific host in an SMB environment. So unlike a UNC path where anyone that knows the path or has access to the path can access it, you can actually narrow it down to a specific host or group of hosts. So part of the demo is to actually map the share. Did I miss that part? Yeah, I did. To go back. And once I'm in this command line, if I hit this blue box, it's just going to populate a string. And now I have a Y drive mapped from that particular path with the username. So it's very easy and simple to not only build, but scale a cluster. So let's go back to the console. We'll start up these two VMs. They will be in the same subnet. If it were on-prem, they would have to be connected to the same, the same subnet or have access to the same IP path. And then look at our dashboard. And these two nodes should show up in just a moment here. And you can see here, any notification will come in this top part, and then you can see the nodes here. And you can see 5 and 6 are out of order. So I will take this and move it up. So now my MAC addresses are nicely in order. This operation is permanent. It tells me exactly how it's going to grow that extent. And all the data that's on the cluster, we don't have any data on this cluster, but all the data is balanced in the background. And the nodes are automatically added to the namespace, and you can see in the dashboard once they finish getting added here, you can see our capacity grow. And now we have 80 gigs free and 132. Easy, simple, user-friendly, a really thoughtful UI is the way I look at it. All of these things that I've done either on the command line or in the GUI here are available via our API. And all of the endpoints are exposed to all the cluster or customers. If you look at these methods, they're just a bunch of gets and puts and post. So we've added that protocol layer on top of our scalable block store, and it acts a lot like an object store in the back end. So what I'd like to do, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. What I'd like to do now is take you through our replication and a service we call Shift, which allows you to take files in their native format and post them up to an AWS S3 instance. And actually, it does work on any AWS S3 supported platform. So what I have here, the on-prem instance will be this cluster here. This is a virtual machine that I have running here at my house. And then an AWS instance of Cumulo, we call it Cloud Q, that is running here. It is a 6-node cluster that I built in AWS. You can see this is a hybrid cluster, and it has a mix of SSDs and HDDs, and they're all bound together to protect each other and serve 70 to 80% of your data will be served from that SSD tier. And I do have a bucket that's pre-populated. I built 50 directories. Each directory has 50 files in it. What we'll do is we're going to add some more files and then shift them up, copy them again. So here on my desktop, I have a little script here to build 600 files. And as you can see, I have my 50 directories here. This is local on my system. You can see the DF here. And I'm going to quickly create 600 files. If I look here, you can see the queuers that were just created. If I go up to here, copy to and from S3, and you can see this is my local directory. And this is the directory in my bucket that's sitting over here. 2 days ago, I made the initial copy. And what I can do is shift again or copy again. So it's going to take the data that's local here and copy it up to the bucket. I can say yes, and then view the details. And hopefully my neighborhood is not using all of its bandwidth, so it will go quickly. And here we have a nice GUI that's telling me how long it's going to take and the number of files that are transferred. I've got 175 going, remaining 900 files. It's checking every file to see if it's changed. And you can see there's 2,400 that were unchanged. So you can keep a directory, an offsite copy in AWS, and now it's complete. If I refresh this, I can now see that my QDIRs are existing here. And you can use hundreds of AWS services to go and process the data in that bucket. I could also use Shift to go from S3 to a cloud bucket or to my cloud queue instances and get spot instances here to process the data. And then also I have a replication relationship from my share, which is here. I have 2 files in there. We're going to add some more files. And then every minute we use what's called continuous replication. It's snapshot based. So it is based on this particular snapshot. We got here. This is the public IP of one of the nodes in this cluster. And then you can see we'll do the relationship details. It's working from this snapshot. And now every minute it will go and check for changes. And there is snapshot number 17. And it should update. And now it is taking those files that I've added into the directory and it's moving them from a local instance to a cloud-based instance. And again, I can use hundreds of AWS or public cloud services to process the data very quickly. And then I could shift it into another S3 bucket or access it from a cloud-based host. I have a Windows machine here. You can see, and there are the new files that I copied. So it's very easy. And one of our goals is to make your data available anywhere. So these files, it's really important to note that using Shift, it does not require the Cumulo file system. It's simply taking your files, writing them using the semantics of S3 and making them available in the public cloud or an S3 bucket of your choice. My relationships can be reversed. They can be cascaded. You can carry your snapshots with you. If you build a snapshot policy and then build a replication relationship on top of that, you can have your for DR, BC, and really get a nice RPO, RTO scheme going, either on-prem or in the public cloud. Mike, did I miss anything? You're gonna help me out.
Oh, you're on a roll. Keep going. I've been waiting for the opportunity to tell a joke or make fun of you, but
no?
Yeah.
Well, I did drink coffee in my basement for 3 hours prior to this. So
it's great about virtual webinars. If you make a joke, no one's going to come on stage and slap you. So
right, that is true. That counts. We could do a software update. So we are a strict agile shop. Cumulo built a rock solid foundation, and we do iterative changes. We take our code quality really seriously. And we're strict agile shop. We release fully working versions of our code. I know it's a live webinar. We released the next version of Cumulo Core yesterday. I happen to have it on my instance, and you can see more files have been populated since I was talking. Hopefully that's not too small. Here's my image file to do the Cloud Queue update. So software update, we've done a lot of changes in the last several months to make this a really seamless experience. Not in this particular version, but the next version, you'll be able to do what's called a rolling upgrade, which will allow you to reboot one node at a time and keep your customers in read-write mode in the entire time. if I hit upgrade here, it's going to take the system from 503, which is the current version, and move it to 504. The system will do a quick check on all the nodes to make sure that there are no quorum events, no disks that are failed, and you have enough space to do the upgrade. I will hit yes, upgrade. And again, this is my 6-node cluster that's running in AWS. Here's my Windows machine. If you want to see the security groups, quite a few of them. I'll have to try to find mine. Okay, good. My naming conventions have worked. You can see my inbound and outbound rules. You can see the ports. I think I even locked it down just to go to my house. So for those of you savvy watchers, please don't take my IP address and do some sort of a denial of service attack. So this does keep you up to date, up to breast. So what happens is it takes that image file that I selected, copies it to all 6 nodes in the cluster, or whatever number of nodes you have in your cluster, verifies that the files are there, prepares the system, and then very quickly, the file system will do an update, and we can double check. I can still access my files. Now there may be a pause here. You can see, okay, it's waiting. You see the green bar. 10 or 15 seconds are going to go by, and oh, I've done a complete software update to the entire 6-node cluster, and here are my files. So it is a very robust, simple, easy to use, Tony-proof file system that is available in the cloud, on premise, and you can tier off your data to S3.
Good stuff. So Tony, we've got a couple of questions in the Q&A.
Okay, great.
You have more to show. Okay.
No, I think that's it. Unless anyone has any questions, I can go back to any space here. We use this cluster. Well, we can use the demo train because it has more.
Yeah. So first question. Let's see. I understand the solution needs Active Directory for authentication during the deploy. Is it possible to deploy without an AD? Can I configure the AD after Qumulo?
Yes, actually, this system here is a local. It's just a VM sitting here running on my desktop. I do not have Active Directory, and I just joined it. All you need is the local user is admin. There are no local users here. As you can see, the built-in user is admin. You do not need to join an Active Directory. This cluster is not joined to any Active Directory, and I'm serving data. So.
Perfect. Next question. Having a cluster in AWS, I believe you said you'd need to use CloudFormation to establish, or can a client also establish through the marketplace?
You can easily go to the marketplace and get let's see if we can do it right here. Should be here. Yep. One of these links. So you can go to Cumulo in the marketplace and you can continue to configuration. I do believe you need to use either a CloudFormation template or a Terraform script. So what you would do is get a hold of your account team, and we would provide you with an AMI for our server, our software, depending on the configuration you want to choose. We have several to choose from. Let's see if I can get that. So we have customizable, 1 terabyte, 12 terabyte, 30 terabyte, 96. As you can see, we have many choices. And then we would work with your AWS team, as well as our account team, the Cumulo account team, to provide you with the necessary AMI that could go into your VPC or your Google project, or in Azure, we do have as a service, Cumulo as a service. Does that answer your question?
I think so, but John, if you have any additional questions on top of that, feel free to add those into the Q&A. Tony, you got a nice shout out here for showing a very smooth upgrade. I think
thanks. I mean, they just dropped that code yesterday, so I'm very comfortable with the upgrade process. Yeah,
but it's probably worth having a brief chat about how Cumulo kind of reduces that risk window for a variety of things. Not only security, but also the fact that our upgrades and pretty much any process that happens on Cumulo is not contingent upon the number of files that you have. And that's very different than a lot of other file storage platforms, where if you have too many files, mission critical activities tend to run either more brittle or don't work at all. So Tony, can you kind of talk a little bit about what most of our customers can expect in terms of the upgrade process, and how our system typically reacts with high file counts versus low file counts?
Sure. We have more than one customer in the multi-billion file count. We have one customer with 8 billion files in a single namespace, and then we have another customer with their largest file count being 18 billion files. And they do the upgrade process the same way that I demonstrated. They copy the new image file to a share that's accessible on the cluster, any node in the cluster. And then it gets copied to every node in the cluster, and then it does a quick push up, as you saw. And regardless of file count, because we are each node in the cluster, you need 4 to start, and then you can scale almost endlessly. We have 100 node clusters in the field now, and we did 150 node cluster in AWS, and we're constantly growing that number and looking for customers to challenge us on that size. And that data is all, every node has a boot drive, and we run a standard Ubuntu LTS and a really stripped down version as well. So it's not vulnerable to many of the CVEs that you'll see out there. And that's where the software is running. The actual scalable block store is separate and independent. So that adds an extra layer of security, as well as gives you that flexibility to scale to your heart's content and not worry about the length of time that you're sitting in degraded mode. With the legacy vendors, one that I worked for, and then our other legacy vendor, if the more time your cluster is in degraded mode, the more that your system is actually vulnerable to another failure, or a disk being, or a node going offline, or some network occurrence happening. I look at it as crossing a bridge, right? You have one leg on your current version and you're moving into the next version, and you don't want that gap to either widen or stay open. You want it to close as quickly as possible. And that's why our software upgrades, we've designed them to be very seamless and very fast.
Thanks, Tony.
Sure.
So
go ahead. I can see the chat now, but go ahead.
Okay. So another compliment on the S3 demo. Good comment here, though. Trying to think about ways to leverage Qumulo for customers that were born in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, I'll field that, and then you can
go for
it. I think, generally speaking, I think we all know that there's still a place for file systems. Most large scale unstructured data environments, when you talk to someone from like a hyperscaler, they're probably going to recommend that you possibly refactor some of your legacy applications to speak their cloud APIs to connect to their object storage service, because that's the native service that they offer that provides the most scale. The challenge with that is that object just isn't a great fit for a lot of use cases. So file systems still very much have a place, especially when you talk about performance computing. A lot of the big hyperscalers, they have their own native file storage services, but some of them are very limited in terms of enterprise capabilities. A lot of them are limited in terms of scale. Some of them only support single protocols, so they don't support multi-protocol workflows. So there can be a lot of opportunities for customers already in the cloud to take advantage of Qumulo, to have an enterprise grade file system that runs natively in the cloud of their choice, or multiple clouds. And that's another thing to consider. Similar to the talk track that we've all been preaching for decades on premises, no one wants to be locked into one single platform or one single vendor. So a lot of our customers are looking at Qumulo as a way to take advantage of multiple clouds. And the great thing about Qumulo, we have one product. It's one single software code base, and that code base was designed from day one to run natively in a public cloud. So what that means is that when you take Qumulo and you have multiple deployments of it, let's say you have one on-prem, one in Azure, one in AWS, it's going to be a consistent experience no matter where it's deployed, because it's the same code base. Not every single cloud NAS solution can say the same thing, especially for vendors that had platforms that were architected before the cloud was born. A lot of them have unique code bases designed for the cloud that doesn't always offer the exact same look and feel and experience as what they offer on premises. With Qumulo, that's not the case. Tony, anything else to add to that?
Well, you said a lot of words and I was typing answers, so nope, no thanks. All
All
good.
right.
I trust you, Mike.
Yeah. Well, so Tony, I see you typing the answer to this, but I'll read it out loud. Oh, I lost it. The AD question.
Oh yeah. So we support Active Directory or LDAP or a combination of the two. Single domain, single namespace. So we're single namespace and single domain. If you have multiple domains, you can have trust. You're fine, and you can do lookups from one domain to another as long as there is transitive trust between the two. And there are workarounds with either local users or to build a third domain where both domains trust that. I know that's not ideal. We are working on multi-tenancy, which would allow multiple domains to exist in the same Cumulo namespace or the same Cumulo cluster. That is on our roadmap. I don't have a date since I'm not on the product team, but if you'd like to get engaged, please reach out to us and we would be happy to have that conversation with you.
Thanks, Tony.
Sure.
And then looks like one last question from Tom, who sounds like you're an existing Cumulo customer. Thank you very much for your business. The question is the story available when you spin up the free trial cluster, or is this only on our AWS demo site? And Tony, that's probably a good segue if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Pull up the slides, or I can share my screen on my end, and we'll talk about the call to action here, because that is one of the topics. So call to action. I'll answer that question first, and then I'll go back to the top. So take Cumulo for a test drive. So if you go to cumulo.com/try-cumulo, you'll see we have a variety of options. Tony, if you wouldn't mind, kind of talk through what you were actually demoing. There's a version where you can basically take Cumulo for a test drive and initiate a cluster. And then for partners, we do give you the ability to demo a Cumulo system that already has data pre-populated. So Tony, if you could talk through some of those options, that'd be great.
Sure. In AWS, I'm not sure, Tom, to answer your question directly, I'm not sure if we still have that take me for a test drive free. We'd be happy to engage with you. Mike and I, how many AWS POCs have we done? 4, 5? I think we've done 5 in the last 2 years, but it's easy. It's an easy enough process. You just have a quick conversation with our cloud team and your account team, and we will get you that AMI like I was talking about and help you deploy that either via CloudFormation, or if you want to drop it into your VPC and just start 4 instances itself, and then you can bond them together. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. The easiest way is through Terraform or CFT. But like we said, with the Terraform script and the CloudFormation, we do have a lot of services on the side. We have a sidecar, automatic disk replacement, automatic node replacement, CloudWatch, auditing logs that are all configured automatically when you build that instance or you build that cluster up. The size, we can go really small. I think it's 4 terabytes for an all flash instance in AWS. And then we can go much larger if you'd like, depending on the number of nodes. And then the instances, what the test drive is we allow you to run the Cumulo software for a period of time. The underlying infrastructure would be, in your own VPC. So that would be your responsibility. It's important to know.
Now that's an AWS POC, but
that's correct. Yeah.
If you could talk a little bit to the Tech Accelerator demo.
Oh yeah, the Tech Accelerator. We would simply send you a link, and you would launch that demo very much like I did. You would click Launch Lab, and it's available for 8 hours. If you needed it for multiple days, we'd have to talk to our Tech Accelerator team to kind of grant that access. It would give you a domain controller. The console machine that I was logged into is a single domain controller. And it's kind of in a closed space, obviously, for security reasons. There's not a lot of moving data in and out. And that's why when I was doing the demo, I used my own personal lab of sorts. And then there's always the OVA that you can download and deploy in your VMware or VM Workstation or Fusion.
Thanks, Tony. Looks like there's one last question. Does Cumulo have the ability to archive data that is not being used to a cluster in the cloud, meaning file shares that have not been accessed in 3 months. Can that automatically be archived to the cloud cluster? Tony, you want to take that one?
The data that's sitting on premise, we don't have, that could be, it is possible through an API script that you could use to check the dates of the files. Programmatically, yes. We do not have any mechanism built into the software to go out and scrape your file system and say, okay, all these files across your cluster or these directories are X date. Would you like to move them or set them up? It would be a programmatic approach that you would have to use. We do partner with some third-party tools that have that capability, but it's not on the truck, so to speak, today.
All right, perfect. By the way, if there's more questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A. But while we're on this slide, a couple of things to call out. Number one, if you're a prospective customer, please meet your local Cumulo team. I think one of the easiest ways to do that is just to go straight to the Cumulo website, cumulo.com. You'll see I have a screenshot right here. If you look on the lower right-hand side, you're going to see our little mascot, the Grumpquat. If you click that little guy, a chat dialog will pop up. I think it'll start by talking to you with a robot, but eventually you will connect with a human, and that'll get you synced up with your local Cumulo team. For those of you that want to do, a follow-up and just kind of browse some of our collateral, everything's available at cumulo.com/library. And please check out our blog page. We've been pumping out a lot of really good, relevant content over the last several years, but more specifically over the last 6 months. There's just so much good stuff on the blog. So I encourage everyone to check that out. And again, take Qumulo for a test drive. So lots of options there. We still do free trials in the clouds of your choice as well. If you want to test Qumulo in the cloud, again, as Tony mentioned, you would be on the hook depending on your relationship with your cloud provider. You'd probably be on the hook for paying for the underlying instances that you're using in the cloud, but Qumulo software for the free trial would at least be free. But please talk to your local Qumulo team to talk through those options. So unless there's any more questions, thank you very much, Neil. Appreciate the shout out. Looks like there's no more questions. So everyone, thank you so much for the time. Feel free to reach out to us again, meet your local team, or
we have one more.
Yep.
Sorry, Mike.
I missed it. What is it?
The max, this is your favorite, really. I'm going to leave you this one. Piyush, I think that's how you'd say your name. What is the max size of a namespace, max number of shares? Where is the data stored? A la the cluster. So you can handle the first 3 parts, and then you can do it all. You've been.
I don't know the last one.
You do.
That one. All right. Well, hold on. So I can. So max size of a single namespace with Qumulo, 9 exabytes of capacity and 18 quintillion individual files. I had no idea quintillion was a number until I got to Qumulo. So we have yet to find any customers push us to those limits, but we often like to say that Qumulo is future-proof storage because hitting those limits is really hard. But now that we're kind of crossing over that threshold into the exabyte scale era, Qumulo is very well positioned.
Yeah, and the data is stored. The data is stored in our scalable block store. So when we built the cluster, and when I talked about the cloud cluster, all of the nodes take the available space, they distribute it across it, protect the blocks against themselves, spare space, parity, and data. We use an erasure coding pattern based on Reed-Solomon. And then the data through the file system protocol is written into that scalable block store sequentially. In a hybrid model, it goes through the SSD layer, it's cached, the metadata always stays in the cache, and then the hot blocks stay hot, the cold ones are least recently used, are evicted from the cache tier. And that's where, when I was saying we keep 70 to 80% of the IOPs are coming out of that SSD layer, and the blocks are promoted or read ahead into RAM from that scalable block store. So each node has 2 separate identities. It's got the boot drive that it boots up, and that's where the file system is actually running from. QFSD is the main file system daemon. And then the scalable block store, 4 nodes and beyond, they all participate in the protection, serving, and compute, networking, and storage. And the blocks are distributed across all 4 nodes for protection and maximum throughput. that's where the data is stored in the scalable block store.
Thanks, Tony. And
Yep.
sorry, folks, I wasn't checking the chat. I was just looking at Q&A. It looks like we might have missed one possibly from Duncan. How does licensing work? So Qumulo is a capacity-based subscription. So I think I mentioned this earlier. All of our data services, every single feature, every single functionality that Qumulo offers, it's all inclusive in a Qumulo subscription. So we don't do the a la carte feature licensing model. It's all baked into a single Qumulo subscription. And again, it's based on capacity. Let's see here. I think we're good. Tony, do you see any other outstanding questions?
Steve has his hand up.
How do I see that?
If you look in the participants tab, I think might have dropped.
Okay. All right, folks.
Oh no, he does. He does
Okay.
have his hand up. Steve, you had a question? You're on mute if you.
I don't know if
trying.
participants are able to come off mute. I'm not sure.
Looks like they are.
Okay. You said nope. Sorry, no questions. All right.
All right, cool.
All right, folks. By the way, I should have put this on the screen. If any of you want to reach out to myself or Tony directly, fortunately, Tony and I were kind of early at Qumulo, so we got some pretty good email aliases. Tony is just Tony@Qumulo.com. And unfortunately, I wasn't the first Mike, so I couldn't take Mike, but I'm Mike G@Qumulo.com. So feel free to reach out to us directly. All right, folks. Thank you so much for your time and your interest in Qumulo. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, everyone.